lost. Doug was a wrestler from Clearfield High School. He eventually wrestled for the coach that coached me as a junior and senior in high school, John Webb. He wrestled for Clearfield, then he wrestled at Weber State, and then I haven't seen him for years, and he doesn't remember me. I remember him really well, but I've lost my hair, of course, and he doesn't remember me. But I talked with him about 2 months ago at a wrestling tournament, and he was a wrestling ref at a wrestling tournament at Roy High School, and we visited, and I told him what I remembered about him, his little smiley characteristics, and his attitude, and how friendly he was, and what a nice guy he was, and a good wrestler. And he told me some of his wrestling experiences, and just basically told me that Coach John Webb was his coach also at Weber State College. Well, anyway, I see Doug Higley once every 5 years, maybe once every 10 years, but I saw him 2 months ago. Now, that's at a tournament where I was helping coach wrestling there. I'm kind of like a seventh assistant coach. I mostly just encourage the kids, but anyway, I saw him, we visited for 15 minutes, then we left. So a week or two ago, we went up to see our daughter placed a child for adoption. Started placed a daughter for adoption. And this family moved to Idaho. It's called Preston, Idaho, that area. Anyway, up in Preston, Idaho, it's further up than that. It's actually up a canyon towards Bear Lake. Anyway, we got lost up there trying to find their house, and we didn't have good cell service. We kept calling, no good cell service. We took one turn too early. We were probably a mile or two away from their house, finding their house, and the GPSs weren't working. The phone wasn't working. We didn't know how to get to their place. We were lost, and we were kind of lost, and we were trying to get there. So I just told my wife, I says, pull over to this house. Now this house is out in the middle of the mountains, basically, out in these foothills of these mountains. There's a small area, very few homes, just out in the middle of nowhere, Idaho, above Preston, Idaho, about 12 miles out of Preston, Idaho. So I said to her, I says, pull over this house, and I'll see if that person in that house knows where John and Jen live. So anyway, I pull in there, I get out of the house, I knock on the door, and guess who comes to the door? Doug, the guy, the wrestling friend from Clearfield High School, the ref that I talked to in Roy, Utah, 100 miles away in Roy, Utah, when he was reffing a wrestling meet. So Doug comes to the door. I go, "Hi, Doug, it's Bruce again. How you doing? I didn't know you lived here, and I'm looking for John's house and Jen's house. Do you know who they are?" He goes, "Yeah, I know John and Jen." I says, "Do you know how to get to their house?" He goes, "Yeah, it's way down here, but I'll have to take you down there." I just thought it was so cool that we live in such a place where, by the way, things like this happen all the time with me, all the time. It's like Heavenly Father has His hand in everything that's going on. These little tiny glimpses of support and watching over. So Doug gets in his car and drives us down. We follow him down to the new house, John and Jen's new house, and we have a nice party and a nice time with them. And they go, "How'd you know Doug?" I says, "Oh, I wrestled with him when I was a kid. He's one of the wrestlers again on the other school. And then I saw him 2 months ago, and then I showed up at his house, and out of the blue, show up at his house. Out of all the hundreds of houses that I could show up to in Idaho, and thousands of houses, I show up to his house, and he takes us to their house. It's just really cool. The world's a small place.